What's going on, everybody? Six here. Today I'm going to be talking about Kakegurui, or compulsive gambler. Let's get started. Fair warning, this will be spoilers for episode 1 to 4. I'm going to be talking about them in detail. The three animes that I have been hyped for this season personally has been Kakegurui, Hellgirl, and Fate. Overall, these animes have been very great, but not perfect. I really like this anime. It reminds me of No Game No Life, but with one huge difference. The difference between Kakegurui and No Game No Life is the mentality of the anime. The mentality for No Game No Life is Sword and Shiro already know that they are going to win before the match even started. They even go as far as they already assume that the opponent is going to cheat. While Kakegurui, on the other hand, Yumeko has no idea whether she will win or lose. She's just in it for the fun. She doesn't even care if you cheat because she will figure out how you're cheating and she will use it against you. But this does bring up some of the problems inside the show. So far, I've only seen this problem for episode 1, and I hope it stays that way. The problem with episode 1 is with Yumeko versus Mary. When Mary got caught cheating by Yumeko, and Yumeko explained everything that she did, Yumeko explained that she found out what Mary was going to play by using a little mirror. Now, I would have not had a problem with this if they actually showed that she had a mirror during the little gamble. My train of thought for how she was cheating is that they were having them vote in a pattern, but that turned out not to be the case. The problem about episode 2 is that it was too easy to guess. I did not like the setup for that match. The way they set it up is by saying she is undefeated and her parents make a toy company that makes cards. It was too easy to tell that she was going to use edge reading way before the game even started. If you don't know what edge reading is, they do explain it inside the anime when she's trying to tell you how she knows which card is which. It is not as common as counting cards because different brands have a different way to read them, and some brands you can't even edge read at all, but it is something people still use in real life. The last problem I have with this story is not really even a problem, it's more of a nitpick. Why is it when you go into debt, you're a slave to everyone and not just the person you went into debt with? I feel this is more of a thing for plot so that when they rack up a huge debt, the student council can pay it off, but at the cost of your life. Now that we have the problems out of the way, let's start getting to the fun part. I love gambling. What? I don't have a gambling problem. Oh, just like you and your Yali problem? The first stage is denial. Aw, I hate you more. While No Game No Life was fun to watch, I feel this show actually captures and perfects what it means to be a gambler. The fun of gambling, the risk versus reward, the not knowing whether you'll win or lose, the never expect you're on even playing fields, and last but not least, the mind games. These are all traits that make gambling what it is, and Kakegurui embodies all of them. But enough about my gambling habits, let's get to the story. Let's kick it off with the opening, Deal with the Devil. Ah yes, what a wonderful opening, symbolism everywhere. Girls all over the table and Yumiko's ready to dive right in. Except it's not an all-you-can-eat buffet, it's an all-you-can-gamble. And Yumiko is like a little kid at a theme park wanting to go on all the rides. I won't go into too much detail about the symbolism in this opening because I have a feeling dual reviews might do it better. Let's talk about the facial expressions now. I feel the characters inside the show don't actually look like that, but that is how it's showing their inner self. We get little hints that they do stuff that no one else can see to explain it to the audience a bit more, and I feel that's just more to elaborate on their personality. Seeing Yumiko also having those same extreme facial expressions just as much, if not more, than anyone else is also showing that she has a dark personality as well. She's just on the opposing side. The overall animation is pretty well animated, and the serious scenes are very well animated. Episode 1, to be as expected, laid down all the groundwork for the show, so it doesn't have to keep explaining. What it shows is what happens when people go into debt, and the length that people will go to when following orders, like even helping people cheat. But then you get into a really simple game of voting rock, paper, scissors, where everyone puts one card of whatever they want, rock, paper, or scissors, into a basket, and you draw 3 cards, and you play with those. While it may be a very simple game, what's at stake, the background music, and the animation makes it for a very enjoyable and intense game. Neil, you got anything you want to add? Duly noted. That's all I'm going to do for episode 1 because I already explained my problem with episode 1. Episode 2 shows exactly what happens when you first become a Mike, and anyone can become a Mike. While Mary thought she was so high and mighty, she is now a Mike and actually does what everyone says. It says a lot about how much influence they have to actually make someone like that do whatever they say. When it comes down to the game, Yumiko still could have lost because they didn't flip over every single card, and that means Yumiko still had a chance to flip over a card that has never been seen. We do get to see something interesting though, and that's with Sumeragi. We get to see the personality of the student council. She's probably the one who is least crazy because she paid her way into the student council, but the fact that she's still a bit crazy speaks volumes for everyone who didn't pay their way into the student council. After the match concluded, I really love what Yumeko says. She's asking if she wants to play a different game, Baccarat or Blackjack. Now the thing about those two card games is, if you actually know what the next card is, the game is pointless. Blackjack would just be a game based on luck because then they know when to hit and when to not hit because they would either bust or not bust. Baccarat, on the other hand, is just a game of higher and lower when you're betting who has higher and who has lower. The last thing I found interesting about this episode was how bluntly it breaks the fourth wall. I know episode 1 also broke the fourth wall, but I thought Mary was talking to the audience and not directly to us, but her talking to the audience was also talking to us. Now let's get into the most interesting episode, and that will be episode 3. This I feel is Yumeko's first real fight. The first fight she did against Mary was an introduction. Mary was just a newbie crusher. The second fight Yumeko did was against Sumeragi, which was an introduction to the student council. Now that she has been introduced to how the school runs and how the student council runs, the real fight begins. And I gotta say, this episode is perfect for an episode 3. Episode 1 and 2 gives you an idea of what's going to be happening in the story and how it's all going to be playing out. But I was having one last problem with episode 1 and 2. And that was because the main character was going to be unbeatable. They will lose a couple of bets, but eventually find out how they're cheating and then turn it on them and win. I thought this was going to be a journey story. The only thing you're trying to figure out is how they're cheating. You're just sitting back and enjoying the win. But thankfully, I was wrong. Out of episode 1 to 4, I feel episode 3 is the most important, but only because episode 1 and 2 exist. In anime, stories almost always need some kind of escalation. The escalation for Kakegurui will be money. While watching episode 3, I made a prediction, and that was how much they are going to bet by the end of the series. I was thinking it was 10 billion yen. I was already proved wrong by the end of episode 3. They already went over 160 billion yen. Escalation is necessary, but they're not going to be betting money by the end of the anime. I guarantee someone's life is going to be on the line by the end of the anime. And I feel it's going to be either with Yumeko and the student council president, or it's going to be with Mary. Now the thing about episode 3 is, Yumeko found out how they were cheating and still lost. But that's only because there was a second layer of cheating happening. Why is this important though? That's because it makes the show unpredictable. Now you're trying to figure out who's actually going to win. When watching episode 3, I already suspected that they were using magnets, but when they revealed the second layer of cheating, I was caught by total surprise. I didn't even think of that at all. This is important for one more reason, is because 1, even if you figure out the first layer of cheating, there still can be more layers of cheating, and 2, it makes the audience try to guess more things. And 3, it makes it harder to guess whether or not they're just using one way of cheating or they're using multi-layer cheatings. And because they're using multi-layer cheatings, it makes it more interesting because you're not going to know what it is. Making it unpredictable within reason is going to keep the viewer attention. It can make a very simple game into a complex mind game. I also like how Yumiko taunts her to gamble with everything so that she can get her to owe 217 billion yen. The person that Yumiko is fighting, you can obviously tell that she is calm and collective about how she gambles. Yumiko makes her throw all that out for one bet, which is one of the important things about getting inside your opponent's head. Make them not do what they normally do and make them not think rationally. The student council president actually walks in on this fight to see how it ends and to look down on everyone, and to have some sort of introduction to the story besides the fact that we know she exists. I really feel I've seen this character before, I just don't know who. Me and Neil went through the animes we have watched and we couldn't figure out a character, but we were going crazy on trying to figure out who it is this character reminds us so much about. We haven't seen enough to conclude whether or not Yumeko or the student council president are the same or complete opposites. I think their personalities will be the same. Neo thinks their personalities will be opposite. Oh, one last thing about episode 3. Mittens Yumeko is awesome. So that this video is not too long, I'm going to barely scratch episode 4. If you don't like it from episode 1 to 3, you're probably not going to like the rest of it. I feel episode 4 gave a few important details. The first one being it reset the power skill of money. Now she has to climb out of debt. The second one is the introduction of Midari. The third thing is what happens when someone gets too much in debt and how they can get out. And the last thing is new motivation for Mary. I say overall this is a really good anime and I am looking forward to finishing it. I also would definitely want to gamble with Yumeko. But alas, that is all. I bid you adieu. Thanks for watching. I kinda wonder what to do for next video. Neo, do you have any idea? Oh, this is going to be fun.